I'm concerned about a recession because I think the debt and the tariffs are eventually going to catch up.
I think that's a buzzword, recession. First it was Russia, then it was racism, now it's recession.
Those were two voters our CBS News campaign reporter spoke to this week. Here to unpack more about how Americans feel they're faring in the Trump economy is CBS News Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto. He has fresh numbers from a new CBS News poll. Anthony, good to see you here.
Thanks.
How are Americans feeling after this week?
Well, optimism still outweighs pessimism, certainly in people's personal finances, they tell us, but also for the economy as a whole. But then we ask people, okay, specifically, what do you think it is that you can be optimistic or pessimistic about? Because look, there's so many ways you can measure the economy. Well, the number one thing they told us was the job market. They think that that's in good shape. That gave them reason for optimism. More mixed was when they looked at the stock market. That's a more close balance of optimism and pessimism.
Well, about half of Americans own stock.
Exactly. So not everybody is affected by it. In fact, it's only about 13% of people that tell us that the stock market affects them a lot. You know, the president often uses that as a measure for the economy. Important to remember that's not always coming through to the kitchen table for everybody. And then on trade policy and on world affairs, both of those things, people tell us they look out and they see more reason for pessimism. So there is a little bit of that mix of pessimism and uncertainty still out there.
So on pessimism, are people saying on the trade war that they support what President Trump is doing?
Well, a majority of Americans feels that the American consumer will end up paying for these tariffs. And the president gets lower marks on handling trade policy with China than he does for handling the economy overall. But we also talked to people who are specifically involved in agriculture and jobs related to it, and they're more mixed on the help and hurt balance for what this will do. You know, it's interesting, we also asked, is this something that you think you believe will work or something that you hope will work? And that's really split too. So I think it underpins this idea that there's a sense people want something done, although maybe not necessarily specifically this.
What happens at the kitchen table? What are the pocketbook issues that have people concerned?
Right. When you look at what people are dealing with on a day-to-day basis, they tell us, they really see a split between the confident and the concerned, which is to say there are people who are confident they can pay their housing, pay their daily bills. But then those who are concerned about the same sorts of things, about evenly. Interestingly enough, medical costs and medical bills are the thing that really stood out that people are more concerned about right now. We even talked to about a third of people who told us that they'd passed up seeing a doctor or filling a prescription because of the cost.
It's always healthcare.
It's always healthcare, and it's always that specific element of costs. Mm-hmm. So that's something that I think going forward we have to watch.
So do people hold the president accountable for these concerns, or do they give him credit?
Well, the first thing that people want to look at is where they're getting their information about the economy. And that's really different today in this partisan environment. We saw the clip of the woman who was talking about what the media talks about the economy. Mm-hmm. And there is a sizable number of people who feel that the media makes things about the economy sound worse than they really are. But then again, they think
trust factor.
There is the trust factor. But then again, there's the president, and a lot of people think he makes things sound better than they really are. All of which is to say, it depends on where you're getting your information. Now, the president's job handling for the economy is still better than what would effectively be his re-elect number, the number of people who say that they probably or definitely vote for him. And that's about where his approval rating is. So there's that. But then also, when you talk about the economy today, you have to talk about partisanship, which is to say, Republicans say they're better off, but the ones who say they aren't better off are still voting for President Trump. Democrats who say they are better off still say they won't vote for President Trump. So anytime the old measures of, it's the economy, stupid, or are you better off today than you were 4 years ago, those things kind of go out the window more and more today. And it's really that partisan lens through which people view even things that might otherwise be seen as objective numbers.
So bottom line, it's not as simple as saying if the economy is booming, the president will be reelected.
No, it's not. It's that partisan lens that really dominates today, or is a major factor. And that's the thing people should always watch when they talk and the punditry looking forward at this election, that partisan lens really starts to color how people look at economic numbers too.
Anthony, thank you very much.
Thanks.